This is Reviews by Colloquy Publishing, and I'm Camille. Now that I've finished reading Jordan Blue by Danielle McCallister, it's nighttime. The short and sweet, I liked it. I thought it was a very sweet book with great representation of autism. But let's get into it. So, Jordan Blue is a cozy, new adult story about Jordan, a 17-year-old boy with autism, who meets Max, a strong-willed 18-year-old misfit, at a turning point in both of their lives as they approach high school graduation. With a shared love of music, they become unlikely friends. Then enter Aurora, the wandering hippie with an orphan spirit, searching for goodness and love. These three quickly intertwine their lives as they navigate the troubles of young adulthood through their first, truly deep friendships. First off, my critiques. So, this was the author's first book. And we're never going to be too harsh on someone's first book because she did it. She wrote a whole book and she published it all by herself. I mean, with, of course, help of family, friends, and whatever professional she ended up hiring to help her with editing and that sort of thing. But there were some things that I would have liked to be a little bit different. First of all, a couple of overused writing techniques. In particular, there was one that was used across 3 chapters where something big was about to be revealed. And since there are 3 narrators, each of them had their own, I didn't know what was going to happen next, and I couldn't have expected what he was going to say. And in and of itself, that's a great way to end a chapter and to get excited. But when you use it 3 times in a row like that, and there was a couple of different literary devices that were either overused or used in a way that it stood out to me and took me out of the reading a little bit. Also, second critique, the chapters were really short. And I tend to like chapters that I can really sink my teeth into. These ones tended to average at about 3. I was about to say 3 or 4, but no, more often they rounded out at 3. And it just was enough for me to start to get into that character's perspective, and then we'd switch to someone else. And then there was one paragraph chapter. What is that tiny little? It was sweet. I remember it was very sweet, but one of my pet peeves. And then 3 was probably my biggest critique, but it wasn't done badly, is what I would say. It's something very personal. I do not prefer passive writing. And that's the kind of writing where we're pulled back. I felt very much like I was looking down on the characters rather than there with them. And so again, that's a personal preference. But I would say that it did affect my ability to connect with some of the non-main characters. In particular, Aurora has a mother surrogate named Doris, and Doris seemed like such a spitfire. She reminded me a lot of an exaggerated version of my own grandmother, and so I really, really wanted to actually hear her speak, but she had very few lines of dialogue. Now, for what I loved, because there are some really good things I loved about Jordan Blue. First, all 3 of the characters felt super real, very relatable. And speaking of the passive voice, it didn't affect how I related to the characters, the 3 main characters. I suspect that this is because the author chose to write in first person and have each of the 3 main characters switch off fairly regularly. So I actually really connected with them. They were all special in my heart in different ways. Jordan, I loved how smart he was. while the rest of the world like misunderstood him. And so just like the juxtaposition was used for humor, but in a good way, not in a poking fun at Jordan way. And I love that Max was just a very sincere, kind person. Oftentimes, it's hard to get those male characters who have nuance and but remain good men. And then Aurora, I liked her because she kept me on my toes. I was always thinking she was gonna act one way, and then she was like this. So she was just, again, very well rounded character. Two, I am so happy that despite the very potentially dramatic, well, I mean, the backstory was. So I am very happy that even though Danielle chose to give Aurora a really like dark past, just some real trauma that she had gone through, she didn't choose to make that the big drama set piece of the ending. I don't want to give too much away about the ending, but I will say that the whole book is very cozy. We're just looking in on this quiet snapshot of life, and the dramas really center around the three of them becoming good friends, close friends for the first time. None of them have ever been able to have deep relationships in the past, and so navigating what that's like to be able to trust and lean on people. Yeah, it was just, I was really, really glad that it didn't end up, because I've read quite a few cozy stories that have especially traditionally published, unfortunately, in the last like couple of years, where it's very cozy and quiet, and I'm really enjoying just like getting to know the intimate lives of these couple of characters, and then the ending is just this big, huge, like dramatic set piece, and it just doesn't fit. So I was very glad that Jordan Blue did not make this mistake. And then the third thing that I really loved was the representation of neurodivergence, specifically autism, with a huge caveat. I am not neurodivergent, so I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. All I can go off of is things that I've read by people who have autism, things that I've watched, and how neurodivergence has been portrayed in the wider media landscape. But with all that being said, huge caveat, I thought that it was very well handled. Jordan felt like a real person who had likes and dislikes and things he was good at and things he was bad at. There was a very interesting dynamic between him and his parents, and then him and Max. The author in particular, who I have learned used to work with people with disabilities, loosely based this character of Jordan off of people that she's known. But I think Danielle handled it extremely well and was very sensitive to the community. So my overall thoughts is that Jordan Blue was a really great, cozy, new adult book I would highly recommend to anyone who's just looking for a nice, I wouldn't even call it a summer read, an anytime read that you just want to feel good about the world. And if you really enjoy Jordan Blue, Danielle wrote a sequel called Willow Dawn. And you can go check her out on Instagram at DaniWrites23, DaniWrites, and the number 23. As for Colloquy Publishing, the underground narratives are out and complete, so you can read them in any order. Colors of the Initial Noise, The Antagonist's Prison, and Black Heart of Gold. They're a super fun romp in a dark underground world, urban fantasy, and with a touch of cosmic horror. You can also check us out at Colloquy Publishing on Patreon, Blue Sky, and Instagram. And thanks for joining me on this read and review. I hope you had a cozy time. Now go support an indie author.